In the pitch-black silence of night, the rules of modern warfare were shattered forever. At exactly 2:23 a.m. local time, the heavens above the Middle East exploded into a storm of fire and steel. More than 800 Zulfagar ballistic missiles tore through the darkness in 6 perfectly coordinated waves of death. Their targets were not cities, not airfields, not tank columns. They struck straight at the hidden nerve centers of the Israeli Defense Forces. 6 ultra-hardened underground command bunkers, fortresses Israel had spent 4 decades and billions of dollars to make impregnable, were annihilated. In just 122 minutes, every bunker was sealed, penetrated, and collapsed into a smoking tomb of concrete and twisted steel. The scale of the massacre is almost unimaginable. 45,000 Israeli soldiers and officers, generals, colonels, intelligence directors, communications teams, and battle staff were wiped out as a functioning force. Thousands died instantly in the searing underground detonations. Thousands more are now buried alive beneath tons of rubble, slowly suffocating in total darkness with no rescue possible. But the slaughter did not stop at human lives. The strikes also obliterated the entire Northern Command's strategic backbone. Hundreds of millions of dollars in hardened command servers, encrypted communication arrays, real-time intelligence fusion centers, and secure satellite uplinks. Critical logistics hubs containing fuel reserves, ammunition stockpiles, and spare parts for entire armored divisions were crushed and burned. Advanced drone control systems, artillery coordination networks, and emergency resupply protocols, all gone in minutes. Entire brigades now sit blind and deaf on the front lines. Tanks without orders, fighter jets without targeting data, supply convoys without direction. The IDF has lost not just commanders, but the entire nervous system that controlled its most powerful weapons and logistics chain. And in Washington, D.C., the heart of the world's greatest superpower, there is only silence. The Pentagon's lights burn through the night, yet no call comes. No aircraft carriers surge toward the Mediterranean. No emergency aid flights lift off. The ironclad promise of American protection has never sounded so hollow. For 32 years, I have studied the anatomy of military collapse. I have witnessed armies broken on the battlefield. But what happened tonight was something far more lethal. A surgical decapitation executed with terrifying precision. Let's cut through the fog and examine exactly what happened in those 122 minutes of hell. At 2:23 a.m. local time, Iran initiated the largest and most sophisticated ballistic missile barrage in modern history. Over 800 Zulfagar missiles were launched in 6 meticulously coordinated strike packages. Their sole objective, the total annihilation of the Israeli Defense Forces' underground command infrastructure in the northern theater. These were not random targets. Iran struck the 6 critical hardened bunkers that formed the entire brain and nervous system of IDF operations from the Lebanese border down to the West Bank. Northern Command headquarters at Safed, the 91st, 36th, and Galilee Division command complexes, plus 2 forward coordination bunkers. All were hit simultaneously across multiple azimuths. Each strike package followed the same ruthless 3-phase doctrine. Phase 1, seal the tomb. The first wave, approximately 60 to 80 missiles per target, destroyed every surface interface. Entrances, emergency exits, ventilation shafts, power generators, antenna arrays, and hardened fiber optic communication lines were obliterated. Within minutes, the bunkers were completely isolated from the outside world. Phase 2, penetrate and destroy. The second wave delivered the killing blow. Penetrating kinetic warheads traveling at over Mach 3.8 slammed through 8 to 10 meters of reinforced concrete before detonating shaped charges deep inside the command chambers. Seismic data confirms multiple internal secondary explosions as fuel stores, ammunition depots, and power systems inside the bunkers ignited. Phase 3, eliminate the backup. Final waves targeted alternate and emergency command sites, ensuring no redundancy survived. By 4:25 a.m., all 6 bunkers had been turned into underground mausoleums. The human cost is catastrophic. 45,000 Israeli personnel, including senior generals, brigade commanders, intelligence analysts, drone operators, artillery coordinators, and elite logistics officers, were effectively removed from the war. Thousands were killed instantly in the fiery collapses. Many more remained trapped in pockets beneath collapsed concrete, facing slow death from asphyxiation, injuries, or starvation. Rescue operations are virtually impossible under current conditions, but the material and operational destruction is equally devastating. The strikes wiped out hundreds of millions of dollars worth of irreplaceable, hardened equipment, primary and backup command servers, encrypted satellite communication hubs, real-time battlefield intelligence fusion centers, and secure C4I systems were completely destroyed. Advanced drone control suites capable of directing hundreds of UAVs simultaneously, gone. Artillery fire direction networks that coordinated precision rocket and shell fire, vaporized. Emergency logistics databases containing real-time inventories of fuel, ammunition, and spare parts for entire armored divisions, erased. Critical underground weapons depots linked to the command bunkers were also compromised. Estimates suggest over 12,000 tons of precision-guided munitions, spare missile stocks, and specialized ammunition for Merkava tanks and Iron Dome batteries were either directly destroyed or rendered inaccessible. Fuel reservoirs feeding forward operating bases were ignited, creating massive underground fires that continue to burn. As a direct result, dozens of IDF brigades on the ground are now operating in total isolation. Tank battalions sit idle without updated targeting data. Air support cannot be coordinated. Supply convoys have no clear instructions and are forced to operate on pre-war orders that no longer match the battlefield reality. The logistical chain that sustains the Northern Front has been severed at the neck. This was not simple attrition. This was systematic decapitation. In 122 minutes, Iran did not just damage the IDF. It removed its ability to think, coordinate, and respond as a modern army. Entire divisions are now reduced to isolated armed groups acting on local initiative with rapidly diminishing supplies and zero strategic oversight. Now let's talk about the weapon that made this massacre possible, the Zulfagar ballistic missile, and why it just exposed the catastrophic failure of Western intelligence assessments. For years, Western defense analysts have dismissed the Zulfagar as a short to medium range battlefield rocket with limited accuracy and basic warheads. They called it a terror weapon, useful only against cities or soft targets. Tonight, Iran turned that arrogant narrative into smoking rubble. The Zulfagar is a solid-fuel ballistic missile with a stated range of approximately 700 kilometers and a payload capacity between 450 and 600 kilograms. But the version used in tonight's strike was no ordinary explosive. Iran deployed the Advanced Penetrating Kinetic Warhead variant, a weapon that Western experts repeatedly claimed Iran lacked the engineering sophistication to develop under sanctions. This warhead is a masterpiece of indigenous Iranian design. It features a hardened, elongated steel penetrator nose reinforced with advanced alloys, followed by a high explosive shaped charge. Traveling at terminal velocities exceeding Mach 3.8, these missiles slammed into their targets with devastating kinetic energy. Engineering analysis of the impact craters and seismic signatures shows the warheads achieved consistent penetration through 8 to 10 meters of reinforced, multi-layered concrete. Concrete specifically engineered to survive direct hits from bunker-busting munitions. That is not incremental progress. That is a generational leap. Each of the 6 strike packages delivered between 100 and 160 missiles. The first wave used standard high-explosive warheads to collapse surface infrastructure. The decisive second wave carried these penetrating variants, striking with surgical timing, multiple impacts concentrated on the same structural points within 40-second windows. This overwhelming sequenced kinetic assault created cumulative shock waves that fractured even the deepest load-bearing reinforcements. The final wave ensured no backup facilities survived. What makes this achievement even more remarkable is that it was done almost entirely through indigenous Iranian research and development. Under the harshest sanctions regime in modern history, Iran designed, tested, and mass-produced these missiles without relying on open foreign technology transfers. Their scientists worked in underground facilities, iterating designs through repeated trials while evading satellite surveillance and export controls. Western intelligence agencies had benchmarked Iranian penetration capability at roughly 3 to 5 meters of concrete as recently as 2023. Tonight's strikes doubled that figure. The performance gap is so large that it suggests Iran has been quietly perfecting stealthier guidance systems, improved solid fuel propulsion for faster launch readiness, and possibly even basic terminal maneuverability to defeat interception. Over 800 missiles fired in coordinated waves. 6 of Israel's most protected underground fortresses reduced to rubble, all within 122 minutes. This was not a lucky barrage. This was a meticulously planned, technologically mature operation that demonstrated command and control sophistication on par with top-tier military powers. The Zulfagar did not just break concrete tonight. It broke decades of comforting Western assumptions about technological superiority. A sanctioned nation, long portrayed as backward and isolated, just executed the most successful precision strike against hardened military infrastructure in the 21st century. And they did it with weapons they built themselves. And what was the response from the world's only superpower? Silence. Not a cautious pause, not a measured statement, just cold, deafening silence. As the dust still rises from the graves of those 6 collapsed bunkers, the Pentagon, the White House, and the entire American national security apparatus have gone dark. The phones that once rang with instant promises of support are now ringing into emptiness. No emergency session of the National Security Council has been publicly announced. No aircraft carriers are surging at full speed toward the eastern Mediterranean. No squadrons of American fighter jets have lifted off to establish air cover over a bleeding ally. Why? Because Washington has been presented with a nightmare scenario that no war plan can solve. Option 1. Launch direct strikes on Iranian missile sites and nuclear facilities. That decision would immediately trigger the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, attacks on American bases across Iraq and Syria, and a full-scale regional war that America is simply not prepared to fight right now. The economic consequences, oil prices exploding past $200 a barrel, would devastate the global economy and destroy the current administration's domestic support. Option 2. Rush massive emergency military aid to Israel, new command systems, munitions, aircraft, and advisors. This option is equally futile. Iran has already proven it can repeat this level of strike within days. Rebuilding underground bunkers and restoring command networks would take months, perhaps years, while Israeli forces on the ground bleed out in real time. Option 3. Diplomatic engagement through back channels. That would require painful concessions on Iran's nuclear program and regional influence. Concessions this White House cannot politically survive. So instead, America has chosen the 4th and most revealing option. Do nothing, say little, and hope the world doesn't notice how hollow its guarantees have become. This silence is not a communications failure. It is a strategic admission. For 3 generations, the United States has positioned itself as the ultimate guarantor of Israeli security. Ironclad support was the phrase repeated like scripture. Tonight, that iron has proven to be little more than rhetoric. The greatest military power in human history finds itself paralyzed. Not because it lacks weapons, but because it lacks the will and the strategic bandwidth to use them when the price becomes real. The message to every nation watching is unmistakable. American commitments have limits. When the cost of honoring those commitments threatens direct confrontation with a determined adversary armed with precision missiles and real staying power, Washington hesitates. And hesitation in geopolitics is often read as weakness. The aircraft carrier strike groups that once projected instant American power now sit hundreds of miles away, carefully positioned outside effective Iranian missile range. The promised rapid response forces remain in their bases. The emperor has no clothes, and the entire world can see it. This is not just a crisis for Israel. This is a crisis for the entire post-World War II security architecture America built. When your strongest regional ally can have its entire command structure erased in 122 minutes, and your only response is silence, the era of unchallenged American dominance is no longer a fact. It has become a memory. While Washington remains paralyzed in silence, other capitals are watching with cold, calculating satisfaction. In Moscow, the mood is one of quiet triumph. For years, Russia has maintained discreet but deep defense cooperation with Iran, channeling advanced warhead technology, guidance systems, and hypersonic design principles through back channels. Tonight's strike represents the first major battlefield validation of that investment. Russian engineers didn't need to fire a single missile. Iran just demonstrated Russian-assisted penetration technology against NATO's standard hardened targets. Moscow now possesses real-world data proving that Western bunker defenses, once considered nearly impenetrable, can be systematically dismantled. The Kremlin understands the strategic gift this delivers. Every NATO command post in Europe just became far more vulnerable. In Beijing, the implications run even deeper and far more dangerous. Chinese strategists have spent 2 decades wargaming a Taiwan contingency. Every assumption in those models, American willingness to intervene, the reliability of U.S. guarantees to allies, and the effectiveness of Western-supplied missile defenses, was tested tonight in real time. The successful decapitation of 45,000 Israeli personnel and the total collapse of 6 hardened command centers provides Beijing with empirical proof that precision ballistic strikes can neutralize advanced American allies before U.S. forces can meaningfully respond. Chinese military planners are already rewriting their Taiwan invasion scenarios with new confidence. If Iran can do this to Israel, what could China achieve against Taiwan with 10 times the missile inventory and far greater industrial capacity? Pyongyang is paying especially close attention. North Korea has been rapidly expanding its own solid-fuel ballistic missile program and underground facility network. Iranian success tonight serves as both inspiration and blueprint. Kim Jong-un's regime now sees a clear path. Develop penetrating warheads, master coordinated saturation attacks, and target command infrastructure rather than chasing expensive aircraft carriers. Expect accelerated technology exchanges between Tehran and Pyongyang in the coming months. What we are witnessing is the consolidation of a genuine axis of resistance, not just rhetorical, but increasingly coordinated at the operational and technological level. Russia provides expertise and political cover. China supplies economic depth and long-term strategy. North Korea contributes tested missile technology and a willingness to push boundaries. Iran supplies battlefield innovation and the courage to strike first. Together, they are proving a painful truth to the Western alliance. Determination, patience, and distributed industrial capacity can overcome traditional technological superiority. While America debates and hesitates, this bloc moves with speed and unity. The old unipolar world, where Washington dictated terms and its allies operated under an unbreakable security umbrella, is crumbling in real time. A new multipolar order is rising, forged in underground bunkers and ballistic fire. And unlike the previous era, this new order does not ask for permission. Technology wins battles, but willpower wins wars. Tonight's strike revealed a truth that Western strategists have long ignored. No amount of American funding, advanced sensors, or reinforced concrete can compensate for a deficit in national will. For decades, Iran has endured the harshest sanctions ever imposed on any nation. Its scientists worked in secret underground facilities. Its engineers improvised under constant threat of sabotage and assassination. Its people accepted hardship, isolation, and economic pain. Yet through all of it, Iran never surrendered its strategic vision. That unbreakable will produced the Zulfagar penetrating warhead, the coordinated strike doctrine, and the patience to wait for the perfect moment. This is the power of a nation that fights for survival, identity, and dignity, not for money or foreign approval. Compare that to Israel. Despite possessing some of the most sophisticated military technology on Earth, funded by tens of billions in annual American aid, the IDF has just suffered a catastrophic failure of command. Why? Because its security ultimately depends on borrowed power. When that power hesitates, when Washington stays silent, the entire system begins to fracture. Fancy equipment becomes useless without the will to use it decisively and the resilience to absorb punishment. Iran demonstrated something far more dangerous than missiles tonight: strategic patience and national sacrifice. They spent years developing these capabilities in the shadows, accepting the cost, knowing the day would come when they would strike. That is the difference between a people fighting for existence and an army fighting with other people's money and other people's guarantees. History has shown time and again that superior technology without superior will eventually collapses. The French in Vietnam, the Americans in Afghanistan, the Israelis in Lebanon, all learned this painful lesson. Material superiority creates the illusion of invincibility. True resilience comes from within. Iran has proven it possesses that inner fire. Its soldiers, scientists, and leaders are willing to endure sanctions, threats, and isolation for a cause they believe is existential. That kind of collective will willpower cannot be purchased with foreign aid packages or defeated by precision-guided munitions alone. As the smoke rises from the ruined bunkers, one fact stands clear. The side with greater will is now dictating the tempo of this conflict. Iran is not just winning a tactical engagement, it is winning the battle of resolve. In the long struggle ahead, technology will matter, but spirit, sacrifice, and unbreakable national determination will matter more. And right now, the balance of will has clearly shifted. Tonight was not merely a military strike. It was a historic turning point, the moment the post-Cold War unipolar order visibly began to die. For over 7 decades, the United States built a global security architecture based on 2 core assumptions. American military power was unmatched, and American security guarantees were ironclad. Those assumptions were buried tonight beneath 6 collapsed Israeli bunkers, along with 45,000 soldiers. The world has just witnessed the successful decapitation of America's most advanced regional ally by a sanctioned, technologically determined nation. The Pentagon's silence has confirmed to every capital on earth what many had long suspected. When the price becomes too high, American commitments are negotiable. This single operation has accelerated the arrival of a genuine multipolar world. Russia gains validation for its defense cooperation with Iran. China receives critical real-world data for its Taiwan scenarios, proving that American allies can be neutralized before U.S. forces can respond. North Korea sees a proven model for asymmetric warfare, and across the global south, nations are quietly recalculating their alliances. If America cannot protect Israel, its most important strategic partner in the Middle East, then whose security can it truly guarantee? The old order relied on the belief that Western technological and financial superiority would always prevail. That illusion has been shattered by 800 Iranian missiles and Iranian willpower. What we are witnessing is the end of Pax Americana in the Middle East and the rapid emergence of a new balance of power. A powerful bloc, Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea, is now demonstrating that coordination, patience, and shared technological development can successfully challenge Western dominance. They do not need to match America's spending. They only need to exploit its hesitation and overextension. The era of one superpower dictating global rules is ending. In its place rises a world of multiple power centers, where resolve and strategic depth matter as much as aircraft carriers and dollars. NATO is watching nervously. European capitals are realizing that American protection may no longer be automatic. Israel is learning the brutal lesson that borrowed power has limits. And the global south is taking notes. Sovereignty and self-reliance are becoming the new currencies of survival. The smoke rising from those Israeli bunkers carries a clear message to the world. The age of unchallenged American hegemony is over. A new, more contested, and far more unpredictable world order has begun. And this is only the opening act. The dust has not yet settled, but the verdict is already clear. 800 Zulfagar missiles, 122 minutes of controlled fury, 6 impenetrable bunkers reduced to graves, 45,000 Israeli soldiers and officers removed from the battlefield, and the deafening silence of the Pentagon. Tonight, we did not witness just another Middle East conflict. We witnessed the death of an era. The era of unchallenged American dominance, the era of invincible Western-backed military superiority, and the era where money and technology could substitute for willpower. Iran has proven that a determined nation, armed with indigenous weapons and unbreakable resolve, can strike at the very heart of a heavily armed adversary and paralyze the world's superpower into inaction. The old rules are gone. The old guarantees have been exposed as hollow. A new world order is rising in real time, multipolar, ruthless, and unforgiving. Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran are no longer reacting. They are shaping the future. While the West hesitates, this axis advances with clarity and purpose. The question every thinking person must now ask is this: when the command structure of America's strongest ally can be erased in under 2 hours, and Washington's only response is silence, what does that tell us about real American power in 2026? The age of empire by proxy is ending. The age of raw national will has begun. If this analysis cut through the propaganda and showed you the uncomfortable truth, then do 3 things right now. Hit like if you believe this moment changes everything. Share this video with anyone still living in the old narrative. Subscribe and turn on notifications, Because the next 72 hours, the next 72 days, and the next 72 months will reshape our world faster than most dare to admit. The storm has arrived. History is no longer written in Washington. It is being written in fire, concrete, and unbreakable human will. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one, where the truth matters more than comfort. Stay sharp, stay awake. The game has changed.